Summer had fully embraced Los Angeles, its warmth settling over the city like a familiar routine. In the midst of it, my relationship with Leslie continued to evolve, finding a delicate balance between my structured, goal-driven approach and his more relaxed spontaneity. As a Capricorn, ambition wasn't just part of who I was, it defined me. I couldn't help but approach every aspect of my life, including my relationship, with the same methodical mindset I applied to my career. To me, success wasn't about grand gestures or fleeting moments. It was about building something lasting, something solid, step by step. One Saturday morning, as Leslie and I sat in a cozy cafe, the sun streaming through the windows, I found my thoughts drifting to the future. I had always been a planner, someone who looked ahead with clear goals in mind, and now that Leslie was a significant part of my life, I found myself naturally weaving him into those plans. While I sipped my coffee, I started thinking about how we could align our individual ambitions with our growing relationship. It wasn't enough for me that we simply enjoyed each other's company. I wanted to make sure that we were both thriving, both moving forward. My career had always been a major focus. I had worked hard to establish myself in the accounting firm, and I knew a promotion was on the horizon if I continued to push myself. But beyond work, I wanted to ensure that Leslie and I were building a life where our personal goals didn't just coexist, but complemented each other. For me, a successful relationship was one where both people could pursue their ambitions, supporting each other along the way. Leslie had his own aspirations, particularly with his writing. He had mentioned wanting to finish his novel by the end of the year, and I could see how passionate he was about it. It reminded me of how I approached my work, driven by a sense of purpose, with a clear finish line in sight. I couldn't help but admire that about him. In fact, the more we talked about our goals, the more I saw how our different approaches, my practicality and his creativity, could actually work together to push us both forward. After discussing our ambitions that morning, we decided to create a plan. It wasn't enough to simply talk about our goals. We needed a strategy to ensure we stayed on track. We set aside specific evenings during the week to focus solely on our individual projects. Tuesdays and Thursdays became our goal nights, where I would dive into my work, preparing for the upcoming promotion, and Leslie would dedicate time to his writing. It felt like the perfect compromise. Time to focus on ourselves, while also being there to encourage each other. As the weeks passed, this routine became a cornerstone of our relationship. I found myself thriving in the balance between pursuing my own ambitions and supporting Leslie in his. The structure we created allowed me to feel in control, to know that I was moving closer to my personal goals while also nurturing our relationship. Leslie, in turn, seemed to benefit from the added organization. He became more disciplined in his writing, inspired, I think, by the way I approached my work with unwavering focus. It was rewarding to see how our different strengths were starting to complement each other, blending in a way that felt natural. But relationships, much like careers, require progression. So when Leslie brought up the idea of moving in together, I wasn't entirely surprised. Still, the thought stirred something in me. Moving in was a significant step, one that needed to be carefully considered. For me, it wasn't just about sharing a space. It was about merging routines, finding a balance that would allow us both to continue thriving. I couldn't rush into something that would disrupt the stability I had worked so hard to build. Practicality always came first. We agreed to spend more weekends together, easing into the idea of cohabitation. It was a logical step, one that allowed us to test how our lives could blend without compromising our individual needs. I knew that if we could make this work, finding harmony between my structured approach and his more flexible one, then moving in together would be the natural next phase. As we spent more time in each other's spaces, I started to notice how we influenced each other in small but meaningful ways. Leslie became more goal-oriented, adopting some of the routines I held dear, like setting deadlines and sticking to them. At the same time, I found myself relaxing a little more, embracing moments of spontaneity that I normally wouldn't have allowed. It was a subtle shift, but one that brought us closer together. One Saturday, we decided to tackle a shared goal, creating a home office space that would inspire both of us. This felt like the perfect project, something practical yet creative, a reflection of how we were learning to balance our individual needs within a shared environment. We spent the day shopping for furniture and decor, carefully selecting pieces that not only suited our personalities, but also reflected the ambition we both carried. By the end of the day, we had transformed a corner of my apartment into a functional yet cozy workspace, one that symbolized the partnership we were building. As I stood back, admiring the finished product, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. This was what I had always wanted: a space, both literal and metaphorical, where we could thrive together. It was a reminder that with the right amount of planning, with clear goals in mind, anything was possible. Leslie wrapped his arm around me, and in that moment, I felt a surge of pride for what we had achieved. Not just the office, but the life we were slowly building, one careful step at a time. As the summer sun set over Los Angeles, casting its warm glow over the city, I felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. Our relationship, rooted in ambition and mutual support, was becoming exactly what I had hoped for: steady, goal-oriented, and deeply fulfilling. Together, Leslie and I were creating something lasting, something that reflected the best parts of both of us. It wasn't always easy, but with each goal we set, with each plan we followed through on, we were building a future that felt solid, secure, and full of possibility.